Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Financial Health 101 webinar replay. This replay is for anyone who did join the webinar we had last night and wants to refer back to the information. And this replay is also for someone who maybe signed up for the webinar but wasn't able to attend. We'll also be posting this information on our YouTube channel as well as our Financial Wealth and Health podcast. So if you missed this webinar, you'll have many places to watch and or listen to this information. So let's get started. A little bit about us. I work with my father, Rob Clausen. We're a father-daughter financial advisor team, and we work at Desert Wealth Management. Now, my dad has been in the financial services industry for over 40 years, and he actually started Desert Wealth Management 25 years ago. So now we get to help clients together. I've been working with him since September 2020, and it's been an amazing experience. We love helping clients. I passed my certified financial planner examination November 2021, and I'm working on my 6,000 hours of experience to become a certified financial planner certificate. So I'm really excited to finish getting that designation. We opened up an office in Arizona in September 2020, but we've had the office in Idaho up for 25 years. So we are a dually located office in Fountain Hills, Arizona, and Idaho Falls, Idaho. And it's wonderful to serve clients in those communities as well as other communities. We serve clients all over the United States. So, I really want to now chat about Financial Health 101, the reason you came to this webinar today. So, in order to become financially wealthy and financially free, you need to become financially healthy first. This is my favorite one liner that I share on the Financial Wealth and Health podcast all the time because, if you're building a home on an unstable foundation, on ground that is not strong or sturdy, the foundation is not going to be able to hold up the beautiful building and the home, and it may crumble or have damage along the way. Very similar with your financial life. It's really hard to build wealth and freedom if your financial foundation is not healthy. And if you want your wealth and your freedom to be long lasting and hopefully outlive you and pass on to future generations, being financially healthy is so important. And that's the reason I wanted to create this webinar, this workshop all about Financial Health 101. And so in today's webinar, we're going to be chatting about three various topics. Number one, how to build a healthy financial foundation, the habits, the tools, what you could do. And then number two, we'll be chatting about education about investments to really figure out how to put those two beginning points together. Building the healthy foundation, having the habits, and then guidance on investing. And then number three, we'll be chatting about realistically living with healthy money habits. So once you've developed the habit, once you know more about investing, how do you realistically continue that financially healthy lifestyle? So let's dive in. How to build a healthy financial foundation. Now, sadly, a lot of people actually are not financially healthy when it comes to retirement savings as well as emergency savings. So, according to a recent survey at Bankrate, as of December 2022, only 43% of US adults would pay for an emergency expense with savings. 25% of US adults would use their credit card for a $1,000 emergency expense and then choose to pay it off over time. And then 68% of US adults are concerned they will not be able to cover living expenses for just 1 month if they lost their main source of income. Now, this number actually is much higher for Gen Zers, people, who are in their early 20s. That's at 85%, making this generation the most worried out of any other generation. And so when it comes to emergency savings, it is so important to have enough saved to where if anything bad were to happen, you could cover it and it won't drastically change your financial life. So that is one of the pillars of financial health. I truly believe having a well-funded emergency savings. And this is oftentimes one of the first goals that I help clients work toward if they don't already have an emergency savings goal met. But now let's chat specifically about retirement accounts, retirement savings. So in June 2022, Vanguard ran a study called How America Saves 2022, and it calculated both the average and the median retirement account balances of Vanguard account holders by age. And so if we look at the younger age bracket, people between the age of 25 and 34, their median balance of their retirement account is a little over $14,000. If we take a look at people who are ages 45 to 54, so those pre-retirees, the average median account balance per person is about 61,500. And then if we go up a subset of years to age 55 to 64, the median balance was about 89,700. Now, to some, this may sound like a lot of money saved. To some other people, it may not. And it's sometimes hard to figure out, okay, these are good numbers to know, but what do I need to save for retirement? How do I get to where I want to go? And one thing I like to help clients with is help them figure out their end goal. Help them really try to figure out how much they want to spend in retirement every month. And then we backtrack and figure out how much they need to save now every month to get to that retirement monthly spending goal. So we're going to first take a look at a scenario of a 25-year-old. We're assuming that she wants to spend on her side about $3,000 per month in retirement. Now, the average monthly mandatory and fun expenses for a family of two, according to NerdWallet, is about $5,780. So what I did is I divided that number by two and added a little bit extra to show a monthly retirement income of about $3,000. Now, if this sample 25-year-old, if she or he ends up getting married and their spouse has also saved enough money, their goal would be for each of them to be able to spend about $3,000 a month in retirement, together spending $6,000. But we're looking at one singular 25-year-old, not a couple in this scenario. So we're assuming this person, by the time she retires, wants to spend $3,000 every month in retirement. We're also assuming she wants to be retired for 45 years, assuming that she retires at age 55. And then if she retires at age 55, she has 30 years to save. So she essentially has 30 years to save for a retirement that'll last about 45 years long. And that could sound scary. It makes us think, can I save that much money? We're going to be taking a look at that in a couple slides. We're also assuming an inflation adjusted annual rate of return of 4.85%. This is assuming an annual rate of return of 8%, an inflation rate of 3%, which comes out to that inflation adjusted annual rate of return of 4.85%. So once we take into those inputs, as well as these other inputs here on the screen, we're assuming the individual makes about $65,000 a year and has been saving in a 401k, and that 401k right now has a balance of $9,000, and she's contributing 3% of her salary with an 100% employer match. So those are the other assumptions we're assuming. But taking a look at these inputs, we're going to calculate how much she needs to save right now every month for 30 years so that she can spend $3,000 a month in retirement. The number we came up with is her total amount that she'll have to save over those 30 years, in addition to her current 401k savings, is about $1.37 million. On a monthly basis, though, if she is able to save about $921 every month, she'll potentially be able to reach that retirement income goal. I say potentially and I say estimated because these are all estimates and it's not accounting for all the different ups and downs in the market. But for the sake of this calculation, this is approximately how much she needs to save each month to work toward that retirement spending goal. So now we're going to be taking a look at a 50-year-old couple's perspective. So we looked at a solo 25-year-old. Let's take a look at what these numbers look like for a 50-year-old couple. So we're assuming this 50-year-old couple together wants to spend about $5,780 every month in retirement. That's according to that NerdWallet article that I just shared in the last couple slides. And then we're assuming that they will be retired for 35 years, assuming that they'll retire at 60 and that they'll live about 35 years after retirement. So the amount of time until retirement will be 10 years. We're assuming they're already 50 right now and they want to retire at age 60. So they have 10 years to save enough money to be able to be retired for 35 years. We're also assuming an inflation adjusted annual rate of return of 3.88%. That's taking a look at an assumed rate of return of 7% and then an assumed inflation rate of 3% to overall get an inflation adjusted annual rate of return of 3.88%. Some other assumptions we're accounting for is we're assuming that the couple each makes $80,000 of a salary and has been saving in their 401k for decades, and that each 401k balance has about $61,500 in it, and that they put in 3% of their salary every year, and then they get a 100% employer match. So those are the other assumptions we're assuming here. So if this couple wants to spend about $5,780 every month in retirement for 35 years, what do they have to save right now for 10 years to get to that goal? So if we look at the additional total amount they need to save in addition to 401k savings and Social Security, that's about $672,000. But looking at it on a monthly basis, they have to approximately save about $3,880 every month to potentially reach that retirement income goal. And so when people see these numbers of, that 25-year-old saving a certain amount of money every month or this 50-year-old couple saving this much money every month, they sometimes think, that sounds great, but how am I actually going to find the money to save that money? And so that's where we're going to be taking a look at Hank and Heather Caring, this 50-year-old couple, a fictional client, how they manage their budget. And so the process that they follow is you're going to monitor your income and mandatory outflows, get a firm grip on how much is coming in, how much is going out, mandatory. And then you figure out how much you have left over each month. And then from there, you set up your automatic savings contributions. You essentially then give yourself an allowance of how much to spend on fun items each month. The step three here is paying yourself first from that leftover amount you have every month. And then after you pay yourself first, you could figure out how much money you could spend each month on those fun items so that you have that balance in your financial life. So let's see an example of, like I said, Hank and Heather Caring. They're a fictional couple. They're each 50 years old and they each make $80,000 a year pre tax. They also contribute, each of them, 3% of their 403B employer sponsored retirement plan accounts or a 401k, whatever it is. Usually nurses have a 403B. And they each receive a 3% match from their employer on top of what they put in. So we're also assuming that their current balance of their 403B employer sponsored retirement plan is about $61,500 each, and that is based off that Vanguard study that we talked about a few slides back. So, like we just mentioned, they want to retire at 60 and they want to spend about $5,780 a month. This is the annual rate of return and inflation rate of return that we're using that we just talked about in the last slide. A new piece of info, though, is that we're going to include in these numbers their average monthly Social Security check, which on average for a married couple as of June 2022 is about $2,739. That could be more or less depending on what age they take out Social Security and where the world will be. But as far as these numbers go, this is the Social Security inflow that we'll take note of. All right, so we're looking at their current financial budget. So base household income is $160,000 a year. After they take out taxes and the money they put into their retirement plans at work, their approximate monthly income that they have every month is about $10,000. And so we're also assuming that their mandatory expenses, not including fun expenses for a family of four, if they still have two kids at home, is about $5,320 a month. So when we take their income, subtract their mandatory expenses, the approximate amount of extra money they have left over to save or spend every month is about $4,823. And so it's from that amount that we're going to figure out how much they could save and spend. And so here's a simple saving and spending system. It just shows their basic fixed expenses. And then we take a look at arriving at that $4,823 to either save or spend. So going back to our previous calculations, to be able to spend what they want to spend in retirement every month for that designated amount of time, how much do they need to save every month now for the next 10 years until they're retired? Our last example that we shared was save approximately $3,880 every single month. Now, if they were to do this, they would have about $940 left over to spend on fun expenses. Because, like we just mentioned, their extra money they have after their mandatory bills is $4,823 a month. If they save $3,882 a month, they'll have about $940 left over to spend on fun expenses. So now they know the road map. Now they know the game plan. Now they know how much they need to save and then how much they could spend on fun items. And they just follow this plan until they're retired. And so this is one of the main pillars I truly think of financial health is developing a plan and then sticking with it. It's a simple process. I've created a monthly budget planner. It's a paper planner. And if any of you would love a copy, please let me know. And I'd love to mail you a free copy. But it just really helps you follow this process to define your income, pay your fixed expenses, put money towards your goals, and then whatever is left over, spend on what you want. It's a guilt free saving and spending system that helps you have balance in life to work towards your goals, but also live in the present. So now that we've chatted about building that healthy foundation and a very simple roadmap to follow, let's dive into education about investments. So, Hank and Heather Caring, they knew they need to save about $3,880 every single month into an investment account. And a lot of times people think, well, I don't even know anything about investments. That's why we're going to be chatting about that right now. Because a way to have a healthy financial life is to grow your money through investing. And understanding investing can help you build your confidence, which will probably make you want to learn even more about financial health. All right, so we're going to be diving into a couple definitions that I think is really helpful and foundational to understanding investments. So, first, a stock. This is also known as an equity. A stock is an investment tool that represents the ownership of part of a company. The owner of a stock is entitled to a portion of the company's assets and profits. And then the amount the stockholder owns is referred to as the number of shares. So, a tip to remember what a stock is when you own a stock, you own a share of the company. The company wants to share its business with you. S stands for stock and S stands for share. Now, a lot of times people take a look at a portfolio and they associate growth with stock because you're owning part of a company and you want it to grow over time. However, a lot of people think that a conservative part of a portfolio is a bond, also known as fixed income. As of this recording in March 2023, bonds are not as conservative as they used to be due to many different factors, such as rising interest rates and all of that. But usually, bonds are considered more of the conservative investment because it pays a fixed income. So, a bond is an investment tool that represents a loan that a company makes to an investor. Bonds are used by companies, states, governments to borrow money for projects. And then, in return for loaning money to a company or a government, the investor, which would be you, receives income normally every 6 months from the borrower. That's why a bond is considered a fixed income investment tool. When you own a bond, you are lending a company money. You are essentially giving them a loan, and then they pay you interest, usually every 6 months. And then at the end of the loan term, you get your money back. So a company is borrowing money from you. A good way to remember what a bond is borrowing. B stands for borrow, B stands for bond. A company is borrowing money from you. All right. So, what's a mutual fund? A mutual fund is usually a basket of stocks and bonds from a lot of different companies. So, it has a lot of diversification. That's what it's called. And essentially, what that means is instead of putting all of your money in one company or in one bond or in a government bond, you're essentially investing in a mutual fund which has a lot of companies and a lot of sectors, so that if one company goes down, your entire portfolio isn't going down. Same for if the entire company goes up, your entire portfolio is not going up because you're invested in more than just that one holding. So, a mutual fund is a basket of stocks, bonds, and other assets from different companies, and that's actually run by an investment management firm. So, the investment management firm monitors the performance and the quality of the mutual funds, and then it makes adjustments when needed. This is called being actively managed. Now, mutual funds match usually a certain investment objective, and they're, like I said, a really great tool for diversification because instead of just owning one company, you're having small shares in many different companies and sectors. So, a tip to remember what a mutual fund is when you own a mutual fund, you're investing in a basket of funds that can be mutually beneficial to your investment portfolio. So, the last definition we'll be looking at is an exchange traded fund, usually known as and referred to an ETF. Now, an ETF is an investment tool that tracks many different items such as an index, commodity, asset, sector, or, like a mutual fund, a basket of funds. An ETF trades on an exchange just like a stock trades on an exchange. But the main thing it's known for is it's a basket of funds just like a mutual fund is. But the main difference between an ETF and a mutual fund is that the price of an ETF fluctuates throughout the day, while a mutual fund trades only once a day after the market is closed. Another difference between these two products is that an ETF is usually passively managed, while a mutual fund is more actively managed. So there's more management going on within the specific holdings in a mutual fund than an ETF usually. And that's why exchange traded funds are usually a little less expensive than mutual funds because there's not as much active management going on. So, a tip to remember what an ETF is that when you own an ETF, you can own a basket of funds that trades on an exchange. E stands for exchange, E stands for exchange traded fund. All right, so those are some of the basics about different definitions of investment tools. So, now let's chat about time periods and risk. So, it's important to have a goal and then understand how long you want to invest your money or save your money to get to that goal, as that could help you understand what kind of mutual funds, what kind of ETFs to put in your portfolio, and how much percentage of your money goes to each of those ETF and mutual funds. Because depending on how long you have to invest your money, that will change your risk. So, for short term goals, if you have a goal you want to meet in 1 to 3 years, it's probably a good idea to invest that either at a normal savings account in a bank or at a high yield savings account or a money market mutual fund, because that'll help the money be more liquid and it's more conservative. If you only have 1 to 3 years to save for something, the chances of putting your money in the market and having it work with volatility going up and down may work in your favor, but there may be periods of time where you'll see more downward trends because you're investing in the market. It goes ups and downs, and sometimes it's not that predictable. So, if you have a goal that's 1 to 3 years, you probably shouldn't invest it in too risky things, or you should just keep it pretty liquid. Of course, this is not investment advice. This is purely educational. But if you have a midterm goal, which is 4 to 10 years, you have some time for the stock market to, help you. So that's where you could probably invest in conservative to moderate investment accounts. And this is where you could invest your money in a mutual fund or ETF that is in a specific portfolio that matches that conservative to moderate investment goal. But if you have a long term goal, which is about 11 plus years, you could invest your money in moderate to growth investment account. So having a little bit more growth opportunity there. Now, like I just mentioned, whenever I talk about investing, especially on an educational platform like this, please don't take it as advice. I'm merely sharing education for you to make your own decision. But if you do want to chat about investments and talk more about this topic, please let me know. I'd love to schedule a free call with you. All right, so that's kind of the basics of how mutual funds and ETFs can play a role when it comes to understanding your time period and your risk, because that could give you guidance on what kind of portfolio to create, what kind of investments to have in your account. So I also want to chat about the average S&P 500 returns over various time periods. This is according to Seeking Alpha, which is a pretty popular investment research company, and take a look at the 5, 10, 20, and 30-year returns on the stock market. I'll take a look at the right-hand side here, looking at inflation-adjusted returns. So the average inflation-adjusted return of the S&P 500, which is a common stock market index, the 5-year number is about 15.19%. The 10-year number is about 14.15%. The 20-year number is about 7.04%. And then the 30-year number is about 8.1%. So it's important when you're investing to take a look at historical trends, because that could give you guidance in where to go further. Of course, past returns and past performance does not dictate future returns, but it is nice to understand historically what the market has done. So, another tip I give people when we're chatting about investments is don't let volatility dictate your plan. So this is according to LPL Research. They had this great slide in one of their presentations that I wanted to share with you today. And it took a look at the S&P 500 non-inflation adjusted rate of return of about 9.96% over 30 years. And it compared to the same 30-year return for the average person investing their money in stocks and equities. That's a 5% return. And so you're taking a look, okay, the S&P 500 made almost 10% over 30 years, but the average investor made only really 5% over 30 years. Why is there a difference? It's because a lot of times people let volatility dictate their plan. They sell and buy at the wrong times because they oftentimes let emotions dictate their plan. Money is emotional. Investing your money is emotional. And that's why it's so great for people to work with financial advisors, because as an advisor, I'm not viewing your money with emotions because it's not my money. I'm viewing it with logic and I'm viewing it with expertise, and I want to really help guide you. So if you find that you're not handling your money with a non emotional view and perspective, please reach out. I would love to help, as it's really important to kind of take the emotion out of the investing side of the money, or at least let someone else handle that part for you. Alrighty, so now we're going to be chatting about number 3.3, realistically living with healthy money habits. So we've chatted about developing that saving and spending system. We've talked about investments. Now we're going to be talking about how to realistically live with these healthy money habits to let it, really be sustainable over time. So, first, build a saving and spending system to help you work toward your end goal. Second, have a money date monthly with yourself or a partner. Number 3, practice money self awareness. And then number 4, tell yourself money affirmations. So that first one right here, building a saving and spending system, this is what we chatted about in point one. And I won't beat the dead horse too long as we've talked about it a lot, but it's really that process of first, define your income. Second, pay your fixed expenses. Three, put money towards your goals. And number four, then whatever's left over, spend on what you want. This system helps people so much have an outline so they tell their money where to go rather than the other way around. Also, having a money date monthly with yourself or a partner is so important. And that's where you can go over this monthly budget planner every month to see if you're on the same page and, make it a fun environment. Go on a coffee date on a Saturday morning or go out to dinner and have this information with you. Go over some of the boring stuff first, go over those monthly savings goals, that necessary spending, and then also have room to talk about any concerns. Sometimes, especially with spouses, it's really easy to just push stuff under the rug of different money topics that either are annoying or they're worrisome, maybe different spending habits, maybe people aren't spending enough because they're too worried about their money and they're not living in the present. So, whatever concerns you have about your money, talk about it with your spouse during this money date. And you could once a month just have this time where you both could share any concerns you have. And then number five, end it though on a fun note about the fun items you want to spend your money on, the trips you want to go on, the dates you want to go on, the fun items you want to buy. End it on a fun note, and that could really help. All right. So the third point with having healthy money habits that sustain you over the long time is to practice money self-awareness. Now, these three questions were asked by my pastor in a sermon that I went to at Pillar Church, and he had us ask ourselves these three questions when it comes to self-awareness. And I think we could also ask ourselves these questions with financial self-awareness. Question one, where am I at? Question two, how did I get here? And question three, what do I need? Asking yourself these three questions can really help you understand your money stories more. And then knowing more about your past and why you handled money the way you do can really help you move forward with that clarity to work towards your goals. And anytime you make a money mistake or a money win, a money goal, ask yourself these three questions. Where am I at? How did I get here? What do I need? If it's about a money mistake, you could figure out what brought you here and how you could change. And if it's a money triumph or a money goal, you could take note of what you did and try to do it again. So these three questions really help you so much with money self-awareness. So now we're going to be chatting about telling yourself money affirmations. This is really nice to say to yourself silently or to say yourself in a mirror if you're struggling with money at some points in the month. Or you could even write it down in a journal. These money affirmations could help really bring to life the quality parts of money and help you feel really at peace and content with money. So, number one, I am a good steward of my money. Number two, I make wise saving and spending decisions. Number three, I work hard while also being present with my family. This next one is I have all that I need. And finally, I'm able to be generous with my money. These money affirmations help you so much to say things to yourself that maybe right now you don't believe to be true, but if you say it to yourself enough and write it down enough, you'll probably start to believe that it's true and it could really help you in your financial life. There's a great quote from John Rampton, and he said, "Don't let money run your life. Let money help you run your life better." And that's really my overall goal for this workshop, for this financial health workshop. I really want you to let money run your life better rather than the other way around, because when you have that financial freedom to tell your money what to do and where to go, you could then focus on the things that really matter in life, such as purpose, family, love, and joy. And so, if you like the topics that we talked about in this workshop, I have so many more on my podcast, the Financial Wealth and Health Podcast. You could scan this QR code to give it a follow. I also do video podcasts, so check out Isabel Rothy YouTube page to find the video versions of these podcasts. And you might actually be watching this video on YouTube, so that's funny. But yeah, take a look at this podcast. It really does talk about most of the topics that we chatted about in this webinar today. And so if you have any questions at all, please email them to me at isabel.rothy@lpl.com. This webinar replay obviously isn't live, but if you do have questions, please shoot me an email. I'd love to help you. Thank you so much for your time on watching this webinar replay. I hope it was helpful. I hope that it was also entertaining. And please remember that really, in order to become financially wealthy and financially free, you need to be financially healthy first. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.